Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1474 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Tuesday. And today's episode is myself and Robby Kalland in kind of bonus fashion. The main podcast, part one of the show, so to speak, was already up on the feed just now. If you missed it, that is already in your feeds anywhere you get your podcast, talking about the Hawks and the end of the season and the playoff series, as well as some Eastern Conference Finals breakdown and a look at what might happen next year in the Eastern Conference a little bit as well. Part two is going to be the Western Conference Finals, as well as the landing spots for Victory Wembanyama ahead of the lottery on Tuesday evening. Not a whole lot of Hawks talk in this second part, which is why it's sort of a bonus episode, but hopefully you will enjoy the conversation. Please subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcast and make it your first listen each and every day. And without any further delay, myself and Robby Kalland are on the way after the intro.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
To the West, and then we'll talk about Victor Wembanyama at the end of the podcast. The West is a lot more interesting. So, at least on paper, my working theory, and I'll throw it to you, is if it was not the Lakers on the other side, Denver would be seen as a much bigger favorite in this series. because I think, number one, Denver gets kind of hand waved by some people because they haven't done it, but also they got to the conference finals. I think it goes back to the Jokic thing. People were with a straight face saying Jokic had something to prove in the playoffs, as if he hadn't been great in the playoffs before. Like he's always been good in the playoffs. But Denver's never been a title. They've never made the finals. They've never won the title. And they were the one seed, but not in impressive fashion this year, like compared to normal one seeds. Mm-hmm. And then the other side, you have LeBron and Anthony Davis. So I get why Denver is only a small favorite in the series. And by the way, our friends at FanDuel have the Nuggets at minus 165. The Lakers at plus 140. So Denver's favored, but not by just a whopping margin. Yeah. But Denver is awesome at home, and this is not controversial, I don't think. But they have the best player. I mean, LeBron is one of the best players of all time. But in 2023, Jokic is the best player on paper in the series. AD can get there. That's the funniest thing about the Lakers right now. It's just like, I think everyone that kind of pays attention knows that AD is the best player on the Lakers, but it's like odd to say out loud that LeBron's the best player on the Lakers because he's really not, but he's still awesome when he dials it up. Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of my working theory is like, spoiler alert, I'm picking Denver. I can't pick the Lakers. I'm not saying they can't win because they definitely can. Yeah. Denver's better than them. They are. It's just whether the AD and LeBron could just like do AD and LeBron stuff enough, and maybe they can, but Denver's better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think the Lakers part obviously plays a role because I think just generally books kind of cook in Lakers fans are everywhere, and
plus LeBron. Lakers plus LeBron is like ultimate.
But the thing with the LeBron part is
it's right.
Like, that's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
That's why I think it's less a Lakers thing.
Yeah,
and like more like, yeah. It's LeBron. Like he's just really good in the play. It's the same thing with like the Warriors. It's like the Warriors thing against the Kings. Like, yeah, like the Warriors were bad all year, but they do that thing. They have Steph. They have Dre.
I think this is what they do. The difference is, I agree with you on that. The difference is, I don't think people actually understand the Nuggets are good. Does that make sense? I think it's less Lakers and more Nuggets. I think it is. That is I probably said that wrong because, like, I won't name the person, but like I heard a national, and I told you this, a national person like frame it as if like it was like an absolute foregone conclusion the Lakers are going to win the series against the Nuggets. Like it was like, well, they're not going to lose to Denver. Like what? It was literally that was the intonation. I'm like, the Nuggets are favored in the series, guys. I mean, what are we doing here? And it's because of the Nuggets being the Nuggets, and Jokic is somehow still underrated by some people, and I get all that. But man, like, and maybe it's just different people have different views, which is definitely a lot of what happens here. But if there are people in the world, and there are, that think the Lakers are like massive favorites in this series, that I can't understand. They have LeBron, I get it, but like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the Denver piece is if you've watched this team this postseason, I don't. It's not the same team that we saw go to the conference finals in the bubble. It's a much more well-rounded group. I wrote about this.
They're guarding
I think I wrote about it after game 2 of the Sun series, where like what they did this offseason was they traded in regular season depth for playoff depth. And it's a thing that's really hard to do as a team and to make that decision, because they traded away Monty Morris and Will Barton, who were really good depth pieces. And they brought back one guy in Kentavious Caldwell Pope, who's just more effective. Is he better than both of them combined? No, but he's better than both of them in the playoffs, and he's a proven playoff dude. The Lakers know this. So you bring in KCP, who is a really good two-way guy in the playoffs. Like, he's a solid defender. He has some versatility for them positionally on defense, which is very helpful when you have Jamal Murray next to him.
Yeah.
He's just like very good. You had Bruce Brown, who was really an underrated pickup. And like, I still don't know how Bruce Brown ended up on like a 2-year, $12 million deal or something like that.
He valued the player. He has a player option, which I think is why he took the deal. But yeah,
it's he's going to make a lot of money off of it.
He'll opt out, and that'll work out great for him.
And hopefully, I don't know what the rights are that you get after. I think it's non-bird or whatever.
He has early bird or something.
Early bird or whatever.
They can't pay him a ton. But they can pay him more, but maybe they do a 4-year deal, whatever it is going to be. But you're right. I mean, I love Monty Morris. I'm like maybe the president of Monty Morris fan club, but they don't need Monty Morris. When you have Jokic, who's basically a point guard, and you have Jamal Murray,
well, and that's the thing.
The value of Monty Morris is not there for you.
The thing I give them credit for is they were like, look, like, we're going to take a gamble on Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. staying healthy. But the thing is, if those two guys aren't healthy, you don't have a shot at being a championship team anyway. It doesn't. We've seen this.
Yep.
Jokic can get you to the second round, maybe.
We saw it last year.
We saw it last year. There is a cap on how far you can go.
Well, it's not fair to anybody to expect. I mean, Jokic, and that's maybe why Jokic is still seen as the guy that people see him as. But like, it's not fair. There's not prime LeBron. Maybe could have taken a team without number 2 and number 3. Yeah. But like, that's not a realistic standard for human beings. Like,
and so. What they did was they said, we're going to build the best 8-man rotation we can, and if we need to go to 7, we will go to 7. And like Michael Malone for years was kind of like Bud. He was a 10-man rotation in the playoffs guy, and he has trimmed that to 8, and it's barely 8. Like Christian Brown played, but he has a quick hook.
Well, and in this series, if he's not taking threes, he's not going to.
He's out of there.
He's they're not going to let him stay in the game if he's not.
No, and that's what they should do. And so I give them credit for trimming that down, and they'll play Jeff Green like 12 minutes. So like they kind of, they kind of go to that. I guess that's like the 8th guys. They'll play Jeff Green. And I'm interested to see how that works in this series. Because he's kind of him and Bruce Brown tend to play together as like the small ball bigs. And my guess is Jeff Green does not. My guess is Jeff Green's not going to play an awful lot of minutes where Anthony Davis is on the floor. That is my guess for this series.
We're not going to do an hour preview of this game of the series because that's not what we do. But I wonder if both teams might go in expecting Jokic and AD to just mirror each other minutes wise the whole series, because like they don't. It's so weird.
Who else can guard them?
Well, exactly. Like the Nuggets
on either side.
The Nuggets have been playing Aaron Gordon as basically their backup 5. In previous series. Could he guard AD? Maybe, but like probably not.
Maybe you try to steal like 2 minutes, but
the Lakers don't have any. I mean, they don't even try to play anybody big enough. I mean, it's like I don't even know who the backup center is most of the time on the Lakers.
Well, unfortunately, Mo Bamba's hurt, and I know that's your guy.
Honestly, this is going to sound funny. The best person to guard Jokic that's not Embiid, that's not AD, is LeBron. Yep, and he doesn't want to do that for any length of time.
No.
So, like, he's got to bang with him. There's no way. So, like, I think if both teams might just, like, almost like agree before the series starts, like, hey, we're going to have these guys play against each other. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then when they're off the floor, it's small ball and it's AG against LeBron, whatever. I don't know. I'll be interested in that. But
it's
because the question, and this is too simplistic, but I think the question of the series is, can the Lakers score? Because defensively, the Lakers are awesome. Even against a great offense in Denver, Lakers will be able to do enough if AD is good. If AD is good, they'll be fine defensively, even against a great offense. Can the Lakers score? Because they've been extremely average on offense.
Oh, Denver's been good defensively.
And Denver's been
very quietly. Like,
exactly.
They've been very good defensively.
I think everyone's going to focus on Jokic offensively, AD defense, and I get it. That's the more sexy side of the ball. The other side is where I think the series is going to be won and lost for me. Is like the Lakers really have not scored well. They won the first 2 series on the strength of their defense, which worked out great for them because the Warriors broke down and Memphis was not themselves by that end of that series. But like, if they need to have 3 games in the series where they really score at a high level, can they do it? I don't know if they can. Maybe they can. Maybe it's Austin Reeves, and maybe it's they make threes one night or whatever.
Playoff Rui.
I mean, Rui might have a game or two where he makes shots. I mean,
yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to it's shooting variance isn't fun to talk about because you're just talking about who
make or miss league. Make or miss league.
It's not fun. It's not fun to talk about, but
people hate it on this podcast. I know that
the Lakers are going to need Reeves, Rui,
Lonnie Walker,
or Troy Brown, whichever
Dennis,
is in the game.
Even by the way, our mutual guy Dennis Schroeder, Hawks Talk, they're gonna have to play. They're gonna have to play Dennis. Dennis was good in the last series, and Dennis is gonna be guarding Jamal Murray.
He's gonna guard Jamal a lot.
That's gonna happen.
So here's what the matchup that I think is most interesting in terms of role on both teams. D'Angelo and Michael Porter Jr. both very flaky scorers. Who's better? That could swing the series. Who has more good games? Because here's the thing. When D'Angelo's good, that Laker offense looks much better. They have somebody who can score. They have somebody who can, create for themselves. They have somebody who's confident when they're rolling. And it's the same for Denver. Like we saw in the Sun series. When they were at home and MPJ was knocking down shots, they look kind of unstoppable because they are. Because if he knocks down shots, what are you doing with them? Nothing. When they got all 3 on the floor, you got no shot. It doesn't matter.
They're going to have to try to make. Yeah, they're going to. I mean, if you're LA, you got to try to make Aaron Gordon shoot, and if he makes him, he makes him. He's the guy. He's the guy they're going to help off of. Besides Christian Brown, Christian Brown's the obvious one. Maybe Bruce Brown, but Bruce Brown will just drive you like he doesn't.
Right, Bruce Brown will back cut you to death.
But Aaron Gordon is going to take all you can eat threes in the series.
But the thing is Aaron Gordon also has learned
to not do that,
to cut. Like he just if they help off, he cuts. And that's the crazy thing is like when you face, let's say Embiid, when you help off a PJ Tucker and you send help at Embiid, for one, the Sixers aren't a good enough offense to cut.
Yeah. Because
PJ's not going to cut.
He is not.
And nobody else on that team seems willing to move.
Yeah.
Other than Tyrese Maxey. So that's part of why Joel looks terrible against double teams. The other part is he doesn't always see it. But against the Nuggets, like they know, like as soon as somebody sends help at Jokic, it's not just the guy who gets helped off that moves. It's like the entire offense starts to move. And so what they do is they just know how to put pressure on you when you double. And so like good luck helping off of AG.
They're the closest team to the Warriors. I mean, through that lens, like they're not the Warriors because it's a different way, but they have the most beautiful game stuff in the league other than Golden State because of the way that Jokic unlocks it, number one. But also they just really move well and they make good decisions. And there's no one that's a zero. I mean, maybe Christian Brown becomes that, and they'll just stop playing him. But everybody else has
the only thing that is like the only time their offense looks bad is when MPJ is not knocking down shots because he's the one that kills the flow.
He'll still shoot, and
he's the one that will start chucking it up. But the thing that Malone now has, he has enough guys to
just take him out. Yeah,
they
did. They did it in the last series when he wasn't good. They pulled him.
Would not play the fourth quarter.
Yeah, because they go to Bruce Brown, and it's fine.
Go to Bruce Brown, and they go to KCP.
Yeah,
and that's that. But to me, the difference in the series is going to be because Jokic is going to be the best guy. If Jamal Murray is out scoring LeBron, that's a problem for the Lakers. And it's going to be interesting to see if LeBron can flip it. Can he flip the switch? He's only scoring like 23 a game.
I'll say this this is going to sound very simple, and I don't mean it to be that way. I think if Jamal Murray is good, Denver's going to win the series.
I agree.
I'm pretty confident in that, honestly. The unfortunate problem is that I'm a little lower on Jamal Murray than most people are, and I don't trust Jamal Murray that much.
I mean, we saw in that Sun series, like he kind of has that like show up, don't show up thing. And it'll be interesting to see if he can maintain it.
Yeah. So, or if he doesn't have it, not shooting them out as well. because half where he goes 1 of 11.
What I will say is the thing that encourages me is we saw like when last series, like the game the one game that he really didn't have it when Jokic had 53. Like he only shot like 11 times.
Yeah, he didn't.
And he was like, big fella, go.
Right, which is what they should
do. It's a little different against AD because like it's one thing to say, hey, big fella, go torch Ayton and Jock Landale.
Right.
Because
it's not going to be that. It's not going to be that.
It's not going to be as easy against Anthony Davis, but
the good thing of that, if you're Denver, and we'll stop talking about this eventually, is that
it's an interesting series.
It is very interesting, and AD, while he's a great option, obviously, to guard Jokic, when he's guarding Jokic, he's not helping in the same way that he is against anybody else, and that's what he's been so good at in his playoffs as the help guy.
And Darvin said he's not going to. Darvin said he's not like they're going to show some different looks, but like Jokic's going to cook anybody else.
I mean, they have
Jokic's
looks. Okay, show your looks. I mean, and again, maybe in a fourth quarter, I'll say this: maybe in a fourth quarter, they could say, "Hey, Braun, we need you to guard Jokic for 7 minutes," and he could probably do it. Other than that, the only look you have is AD, and LeBron's not doing it for more than 5 minutes. Bro. It's just not happening.
And the other thing is, LeBron. I mean, if they do that, they better have some extra ice packs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That is a break in case of emergency kind of thing.
I
game 7. Hey, we want LeBron.
That's late in the series.
Leave it all out there.
Yeah,
it's not happening in game 1. But,
no, that will not be a first trip to Denver adjustment.
No,
and LeBron at altitude guarding Jokic.
I mean, I will say to wrap up our talk about the series.
Yeah,
LA has been really good at stealing one of the first two, and especially game 1 with a little bit of extra rest. That's the one I would circle. If the Lakers can get game 1, they're going to be feeling great, obviously. And I think they have a better chance in game 1 than they do in game 2.
I agree.
Just because they'll have the rest, all that stuff. But we'll see.
Well, I mean, like you said, it comes down to if AD can be that guy, they got shot. But yeah,
for sure. If he's not great, they won't win. I mean, and AD has never been the most consistent guy in the world. And I will give them this. The Lakers have not been overly consistent in these playoffs. They've just when they've been good, they've been really, really, really good.
Well, and that's the one other thing with Denver. What's the bad game Denver played?
They haven't really played one.
They haven't really played the bad game.
They had one bad half against Phoenix.
And they had one bad fourth quarter against Minnesota where Ant went off.
Yeah.
And they just kind of couldn't score. But like even that wasn't like a bad they haven't. No. The thing is, like the 2 games they lost against Phoenix, Devin Booker shot 80%.
And look, maybe LeBron has one of those games in him, or two of those games in him.
But that's the thing is, like, if that's what it takes to beat them,
well, or,
what tells you that this Lakers team is consistent enough to do that? And that's where I lean Denver.
To bring it full circle with the other series too, is that I still think there's been some revisionism on the Lakers Warriors series. Like there's been this thought now that the LA dominated that series, which really didn't happen. Like if Lonnie Walker doesn't go crazy in a fourth quarter, they're talking about game 7 would have been happening yesterday or whatever it is. Like that series was not a blowout in favor of even people that I think I'm like, guys, do you remember that? Like the only reason Lakers won that game is Lonnie Walker had 15 points in the fourth quarter and it was still close. Like guys, so it's that kind of stuff. It's a playoff series. It's not
that's what happens.
Shooting variance, and guys have one good
quarter
go crazy. Or one good half. It might be Dennis Schroeder.
I mean, we had the Suns. We had the what was it? Game 5 of the Suns Nuggets series where there's the Landry Shamet game for the Suns, but there was also the KCP half where he had like 18,
and then the Bruce Brown 25-point game, whatever it was. There's always things that happen in the playoff series, and whoever wins more of those, generally wins. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. If you've ever been trying to find tickets to a big event at the last minute, it can be stressful and really not the best idea for your emotions or your wallets. And after all, buying tickets should not be a hassle. With Gametime, you have the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for sports and music and comedy and theater. And with killer deals and last minute tickets and the best price guarantee, you can also avoid stress and start getting hyped for the fun that you actually have at the event. Spring is here. There's tons happening in Atlanta. I'm sure there is around you as well, wherever you may be. And with Gametime, you can get flash deals, last minute tickets, and it's so easy to find out tickets that you're looking for each and every event. event that you might be interested in. Also see images of where your seats might happen to be inside the venue, and they have protection if your event happens to get canceled. Forget the months of planning in advance. They have tickets and deals on tickets right up to the day of the event with Gametime. And the Gametime guarantee means also you'll get the best price possible. If you find tickets in the same row in the same section for less, you'll get 110% of the difference from Gametime. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can buy tickets just a matter of seconds, and they'll be sent directly to your phone to make things easy for you. Download the Gametime app right now, create an account, get the promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem that promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Today's show is brought to you by the award-winning app at PrizePicks. PrizePicks Daily Fantasy made easy. It's amazing. I know that you will love it as well. It is very easy to use, and they have safe and fast withdrawals at PrizePicks. Every day during the NBA playoffs as well, you have one PrizePicks user will actually have a chance to win and become a millionaire in one fell swoop. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern Time will be randomly selected each and every day, and whoever placed the entry will be given a 6-pick flex with the following payouts. All 6 correct, $1 million. 5 out of 6, $80,000. 4 out of 6, $60,000. And details can be found at prizepicks.com/million. You must opt in at that link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. Once you opt in, all you have to do is actually go play the game like normal, and you could be the lucky winner. Download the PrizePicks app right now. Go to prizepicks.com, sign up and play daily fantasy sports. If you're a first-time user, get 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. Don't forget that promo code. It is locked on at sign up. The instant deposit match up to $100. Check it out now at PrizePicks. And one more time, check it out at prizepicks.com/million. Okay.
Yeah.
Let us close this podcast by talking about Victory Wembanyama because it's Monday night.
Let's do it.
Into Tuesday. Robbie is not a draft guy. I'll say that right away. But, and because of that,
top guy.
I'm not going to make you talk about anybody else.
You don't want my Thompson twin?
If you have him, feel free, but I don't think you do.
Never seen them play.
Not
once. This
is not an original idea, but I thought about this when we're going to talk to Robbie on the podcast. I want to know who you're rooting for in the lottery, which is funny, but you're a national NBA writer. What's the best scenario in your, what's the most fun in your brain, and where do you not want him to go? Those are my okay. 2 points, because
can I start with the not?
The Hawks are not involved. Yeah, absolutely. The Hawks are not involved. There's no local. I mean, I guess I had a smart Hawks fan today try to ask me what would be good for the Hawks as far as Wembanyama results, and I'm
not Charlotte.
Yeah, I was like, you don't want him to be in Charlotte or Washington, I guess.
Orlando.
Just, do the math on that. But even then, does that actually matter? No, not really. Divisions in the NBA don't matter at all.
Sure.
It is what it is. So I don't have a huge take there.
All right. So the not answer is the 2 teams at the top of the board, Detroit and Houston.
Oh, I thought you were going to say San Antonio. Okay. Detroit and Houston, huh?
Well, no, I'm saying this is the not. This is not where I want him to go.
This is you don't want him to go to Detroit or Houston. Okay. Well, so Detroit, on first blush, I would love to see him play with Cade, but the rest of Detroit's roster.
Correct. If it was, I think maybe it would be good because maybe he would go and they would trade their 37 big men.
Oh, if you don't think they're going to start, if they win the lottery, they're going to opening night, they're going to start Wembanyama, Wiseman next to him. And then Bagley at the 3?
Cade and Ivy.
Just no shooting at all. It'd be incredible.
I don't see. The thing is, I don't want that. Wemby can't be your best shooter because he's not even a great shooter.
No,
he's not.
Look, I know a lot of Pistons fans. I have, of course, Michigan connections, family wise. So I would be happy for them. But I'm not the biggest fan of the build that they're doing. Yeah, the build they're doing. I do like Cade a lot. But no, I'm not excited about that.
I would like to keep him away from the Houston Ball is Life All-Stars.
You mean James Harden's team? Or
yeah.
your guy Jim Harden is about to, by all accounts, might be going to Houston. So no?
I just have no faith in what Houston is doing in terms of building a team.
Do you want to know what
I would like him to go to? Here's the thing. Here's my question to you. How many guys on Houston's roster of their young guys would think they should have the ball over Victor?
Oh, several of them. Green, correct. Porter,
Jabari probably.
Maybe.
Jabari seems like Jabari's pretty. This was my. Well, here's the thing. This was my issue with Jabari going there. Is I wanted Jabari to not be at Auburn again, and he ended up at Auburn again with a bunch of guards who think they're better than him.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so
that's my issue with Houston. Is
not a big. Yeah, I don't love their roster. I don't love their owner. generally speaking. And that's the other thing. Like the other teams,
the owner's money.
Yeah.
The
So
Golden Nugget.
the other team that I'll throw in that I could argue could be a good basketball fit because they have LaMelo Ball. Do we want Charlotte to be rewarded? Like Charlotte's been such a disaster. It's a badly run organization. I'm serious though. Like, what have they done to earn Victor Wembanyama? They've been a catastrophe. Like, they only got LaMelo because
the Warriors for some reason decided
to not draft him, or at least trade the pick. But like, MJ's going to sell the team, so maybe it'll be a little bit different. But like the other one on that same level differently is Washington. Like Washington, why should they be rewarded? They're just trying to be the 10 seed every year. Why do they get Wembanyama? That's not fun.
Yeah, I'll give you Washington. I think I get what you're saying about Charlotte.
Charlotte would be fun because of LaMelo. I'm not
Charlotte
saying
fun because like I think there's some basketball and not to get like too deep in the weeds on the Hornets, but like I could see how Wembanyama and like Mark Williams could kind of be a nice little
unfortunately, I should say that they're probably going to sign Miles Bridges too.
Yeah, that's a
tough scene. No, thank you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There's my deciding factor. Like if they bring Miles back, like no.
Yeah, no thanks. Okay, so those are the negatives for you.
Those are the no's.
And look, we should just say that the order of likelihood is San Antonio, Detroit, Houston are all tied. Mm-hmm. Then it's Charlotte, Portland, Orlando, Indiana, Washington, then Utah, Dallas, Chicago, OKC, Toronto, and New Orleans in that order.
Correct.
So it's not likely at all that anyone in the bottom 5, 6, 7 of that list gets him. Maybe they do. We've seen crazier
bottom
things.
4 are all sub 2%.
Derrick Rose was a 1.5%er to Chicago, so it's happened in the recent past.
1.8 this time.
So I think that, yeah.
Oh, speaking of teams that don't deserve him, Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas is like the better
3%. It's 3%.
Dallas is the better version of Charlotte.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they because Luka and Victor would be incredibly fun,
unbelievable.
But like they don't deserve him either. So I mean, and look, it's the lottery, so who knows? Okay, well, I'll flip it now. Who do you want to win it?
So I've been trying to think on like. I think Indiana would be fun.
I totally agree with you.
I think Indiana would be fun. I think from like nobody. I don't think the league would be thrilled with that because like Indiana's not like a market, but also who cares?
It's not a great market. And look, a lot of the teams involved, the league would not be thrilled with. I don't think. Correct. I mean, San Antonio is not a good market as much as they've been really good. That's
Detroit, Houston, Charlotte, Portland.
I mean, Orlando. Houston's a big market at least.
It's a large city.
Yeah, Portland. Great fan base, but not Charlotte's a bad market for the NBA in a lot of ways so far.
But also, like I think what we've seen is, I think one thing that the market thing gets a little like overblown because like we've seen dudes can become megastars in Oklahoma. If KD and Russ can become KD and Russ in Oklahoma City, like I think generally we probably need to stop talking about whether the league cares if they're in a big market.
No, and
the league might but like if New York's not involved and LA is not involved, they don't care.
The argument there would be, and I number one, I agree with you. Markets are overstated in the modern NBA where everyone's on TV all the time. There's not like these differentiators are not really that big. And OKC, for all of its potential issues, they have a rabid fan base. That's like the big thing there is the Thunder.
For sure.
Like the question would be like fan bases that are not the best or at least the biggest. Charlotte is one of those examples. And like, look, that's a very fast growing city. Maybe they would just get all on board with like when they first got the Hornets.
And that's the thing is like, there's a lot of places like that. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
honestly,
there's a lot of places that like show up when they win, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like Houston's like that. Like Houston shows up when they win, and because you know what, Houston's kind of like Atlanta. There's a lot of stuff to do in Houston.
Yeah,
you don't have to go watch a very bad basketball team.
Agreed.
So like, the market thing, I don't even want to go into.
No, it doesn't matter.
So
we agree on that. Indiana would be fun as heck because they have Halliburton. My guy Ben. They're relatively.
Like they have Miles Turner. Like they have. He's a guy that they could go if that's the type of team where like Wemby goes to them and they're legit like they have a shot at the playoffs next year.
You would think
like
so.
he's that kind of good.
Orlando, same thing. Orlando,
same thing.
Where like that front court, if they get him of Wemby, Paolo, and Franz, I mean they have no guards still, but they would get guards pretty quickly. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, they could that then they could just focus their efforts on guards.
Well, and Wembanyama, like I'm the first to say rookies are bad. He's the kind of guy that actually might attract people.
Oh yeah,
just because like most veterans, like don't want to like. Let's go sign up to play with this big rookie. Who cares? But like he's the kind of prospect where vets probably don't even mind that.
Don't care.
It's like I'm good.
Which on that track, Portland would be fun to see him and Dame.
I heard I think it was it Nate Duncan? Somebody talked about it today. Someone was talking about whether Portland would trade Dame if they won the lottery. And just like kind of reset entirely because they could. Like now that we have Victor, like people are going to be less upset if we trade Dame now, because like if we're being realistic, Victor probably won't be good enough, fast enough
for them to be a real
to actually be a contender. So like the stealth move, if you were never going to do it with Dame, would be like, hey guys, we just drafted Victor. By the way, we're gonna trade Dame now. Would be incredible. They're never going to do that.
Very funny. They wouldn't do it this year. No. I'll say that they wouldn't do it this year. They would, because here's the thing. If you have Dame and Wemby, like you're selling out that arena every night.
Well, honestly,
every night
with Wemby,
and that ownership wants the money.
I'm not the kind of person to go crazy about prospects, and like I do think that people generally undervalue how much risk there is, even in the top guys. But like this is the kind of prospect where every single fan base, every single organization should feel like they got a game changer in every single way if they get him. I mean, it doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen, but like, can you imagine the buzz? We just named all these teams that we're not rooting for necessarily. Whoever gets them, like I have to file a mock to you on Tuesday evening. I already wrote the section on number 1. I have to just fill in the name of the team. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter who takes them. It's all the same. Like, obviously different roster constructions or whatever, but like, it doesn't matter. He's the guy anywhere he goes, and the buzz will be off the charts. Like, okay, I would probably argue Dallas is maybe the best possible fit for him basketball-wise with Luka.
Sure.
New Orleans wouldn't be far behind. If you could finally get Zion to stay on the court.
Yeah,
Victor's like the guy you would.
Can you imagine how that would be so Zion? Funny next to each other? Just big old short husky Zion.
And Zion's like, I mean, obviously Zion's a freak in his own right, but the guy you would literally design in a lab to play next to Zion is Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. So, and plus, by the way, the Orleans is still good. They have a deep, good roster.
That would be sick. Like, listen,
and they're dead. And they're dead last in odds. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. But 25%. Can you imagine if the first team off the board is Toronto, though? Can you imagine what would happen for the next 11 picks as they count down?
If you don't, by the way, if you don't understand that what you said there, that means that New Orleans gets in the top 4. We don't know that they'd be number 1, but if Toronto is the first team you see, that means New Orleans is jumping up. Same with beyond every step beyond that.
God, it would just be funny because here's the thing: is like we talk about teams deserving it, and I think the NBA fan bases are kind of tired of
New Orleans winning.
The New Orleans winning when there's a generational prospect.
Yeah, they're 2 for 2 in the last 10 years.
They're 2 for 2 on Anthony Davis and Zion Williamson. I think people are a little tired of that.
Well, and the one we have not talked about this yet that actually might be the most terrifying in some ways. What if the Thunder win?
I think that might be number 1 for me.
Shea was first team All NBA this year. First team. They also have Chet, who hasn't played yet.
That's what I want to see. The 2 tall, skinny guys.
Can you imagine?
I want to see Wemby and Chet and.
You got Shea and Jalen Williams with.
They could do like the big like. Can you imagine Chet and Wemby and like Jalen Williams doing the wingspan thing where they go sideline to sideline?
I mean, holy Lord. Yeah, I mean, I think that might be the most terrifying of all, to be honest.
Yeah. Everybody keeps saying like, I get it, but everybody keeps being like, oh, the Spurs are the best place. And I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
And
this isn't your older brother's Spurs.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I think people have respect for the way they've been run, and I get it. Pop's not going to be around forever. And they've not been great in the front office the last several years. Like they also keep
losing. They keep losing like all the like assistants, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is going to be the Pop replacement, and like
they have interesting guys on their roster, but they don't have any stars on their roster right now. I mean, I like Vasil, I like Sohan, I like Kel Johnson fine, but you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean,
no, I mean it'd be fine. I just don't buy into this. Like that's the best place for him to develop.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best thing you could say is like, if you want him to succeed the most, I would want to pair him with a big time guard, which means teams like OKC or Charlotte,
Rowland,
or Dallas, Indiana.
Indiana. Like those are the five.
They all have proven guards, and like Houston has talented guards, but they're not the guys I'm talking about. They're not set up guys, like they're scorers. Honestly, this is going to sound funny. If Harden went to Houston, that would not be the worst pairing.
No, that would work.
Basketball.
Man, I just don't believe in much of it. But yeah.
And
again, like when I say like I don't want that, like it's just like I just don't see it as a great fit in terms of basketball. And I would, like
we're talking about it on the outside.
Nationally, like I'm gonna have to watch a lot of Victor Wembanyama basketball.
Regardless, I was gonna say we're covering him.
We're gonna have to watch a lot of Vic, and like I would rather enjoy that experience overall rather than have to watch games where I'm like, hey, he did 3 cool things and the team got smoked.
Yeah, I mean, there is. Long story short, we talked about teams we don't necessarily want to win. There is no like disaster scenario for us. I mean, we're not emotionally invested, and also I think that he's the kind of guy that it may not matter where he goes, which is crazy. That's a rare thing for me to say, but he's that freaky.
Legit. Yeah, I mean, like you can talk me into Utah being a good place because like I think they have a good coach. I think they've got.
Walker Kessler.
A good.
You had a great rookie season.
Hey, but here's the thing: if there were ever a time to sell on Walker Kessler, and actually get something in return if you're Utah,
and also, as crazy as it sounds for a guy who's 7'4", he can play next to Walker Kessler.
He could.
It's crazy. It's insane. But
that'd be very funny to watch. But like, can you imagine front line Laurie?
Laurie back to the 3, or
Laurie back to the 3 with Wemby and Walker in the middle.
So yeah, we're dreaming big. I mean, even
I'd say from my perspective, Dallas and Portland are the ones where they become
it's ready made
semi contenders, at least playoff teams again. Indiana and Orlando are the 2 that become like back in the conversation very quickly of playoff teams. OKC as well, and like I'm with you on like I don't want to see him in. Although I'm gonna disagree. Actually, send him to Washington because I live half an hour away.
Yeah, so I was waiting for that to come into your head at some point in this conversation.
I forgot that I'm in Baltimore now. Yeah. Like, I'll shoot down and become the dime Wemby correspondent.
Yeah, for me individually, I guess it'd be better for Charlotte because it's the closest drive from Atlanta, other than the Hawks who can't get him. I did have I'll take this opportunity now. I got a question. I'll probably answer at some point from a Hawks fan that literally was like, I understand this is never going to happen, but what would they have to offer the team that wins the lottery to get Victor Wembanyama? And I was like, the franchise is the answer. Literally, the deed to the franchise.
I mean, Giannis.
Yeah, honestly, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, there are.
Like that's the type of like legit. That's the type of guy that you would have to be on.
I mean,
like, no joke.
The old Bill Simmons trade value column. If you were doing that, I think the rights to Wembanyama would be in the top 6 or 7.
I don't think it's any question.
Yeah,
especially because of what you're going to pay him.
I mean, they're paid more than they used to be, but you're still on rookie scale for
it's like 4 for 40,
and you're basically locked into the ability to extend the guy
44.
So
like that.
Yeah, he might,
and you're to get him on the second contract.
He might not be that guy, but he might be. He's got a better chance.
The thing is, it's like, all right, I'll ask you this: what is, if we're doing the bell curve of like talent in terms of like what his outcomes are, and like we know the high end. We're talking, we know the high end outcome is like best player.
The high end is
like that's the 1%, right? The best player in the world.
Yeah, I mean the high end is literally top 10 player of all time.
Yeah, and so what I want to know is what do you think is the median of the bell curve? Not the bottom end, because we know the bottom end is a guy who gets hurt. And
the bottom end is injury related. Because I don't think there's a reality.
Is it like a 6-time All-Star?
Well, I'll say this. I don't think there's a reality where he is healthy and not very good. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
But very good is relative. So,
but that's what I want to know what the very good, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, the median
outcome, like a 6-7 time All-Star.
Yeah, the median outcome is probably, top 10, 15 player in the league, top 20 player in the league kind of guy.
Right.
Who's really
he's
good
just
for
like
a long
not
time.
quite. He's just not quite like that.
I mean, if you factor in median too, like what is the aging curve for someone who's 7'4"?
Right.
I don't know, and neither did anybody else. But
especially because we haven't seen a guy with like
it probably isn't a guy who's going to play till he's 35.
Right. So it's like,
maybe he is. I don't know.
6-7 time All-Star.
Yeah, I think certainly and if that's your median outcome, you're
and that's what I'm saying. And that's why but that we talk about this a lot when we do draft stuff. Is like there's very few number one picks that you go in and you say like the median outcome is he's an All-Star.
Well, yeah, I mean, but
even at number one,
at the same time, the case against that would be the guys who are viewed like this, the guys who are viewed as the generation, like actual generational guys. The hit rate's very high. Like people were kind of split on whether Zion was quite there, but he was the closest since Davis to that. And Zion, when he is playing, is an all-NBA player. Yeah. He is. Yeah. Anthony Davis, Hall of Famer. You could certainly argue he was never like the best player in the league, maybe, but certainly a top 5.
I think the only one that's missed would be Greg Oden, because like Greg Oden was like the guy.
Yeah, and even then you could debate
that was injuries. That was all
whether he was supposed to be this level, and it was really all injuries. And you can maybe he wouldn't have been that good. I mean, he was a traditional center at a time when like that was just starting to not be the right thing.
Right.
But before that, you go back to LeBron, basically, who obviously is an all-time example of a guy hitting.
Yeah.
And like the guys who are viewed like this don't miss very often. And if they do, it's injury related.
Yeah, 100%.
So
which is
like when's the last time a guy who was built like this just wasn't that good as a player? I mean, I'm sure someone will like, if you want to be selective and say like you thought Andrew Wiggins was built like that, by the time he got to the draft, it wasn't that.
No, it wasn't.
Before the year before, he was viewed that way. But like the guys who actually get all the way to the draft with that same level of hype, almost always hit on some level. So we'll see.
I agree.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a fun night on the very broken Twitter. It's gonna be great.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you, sir, for joining me.
Crash the app,
and that'll be fun. Especially if he goes to like Dallas or something.
My God,
as an upset win and Cuban.
Yeah, I think that's the fun. I think that's the funniest one is if when it gets to number 10, Dallas isn't the one that's called. That would be the one.
What would be the old? Yeah, I guess that would be the. I'm trying to think
of
the craziest scenario, like reaction wise, probably Dallas, maybe Chicago. Since Chicago already had the one long shot win with Rose, plus they're having Michael Jordan's team. If they somehow get from the 12 spot,
I think it's probably Dallas, New Orleans.
Oh God, yeah, New Orleans 1% chance. So yeah,
Dallas, New Orleans, Chicago in that order.
Would be the
freak out.
Mania freak out,
and then OKC.
Oh, man,
I want it to be the more you've talked me into it.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. Now at the end of the podcast, way deep into the show, I think I'm rooting for OKC.
That would be so much fun.
It would just be wild.
I want to see it. I just want it like
and all the takes about how he's going to the small market in the middle of the country, all the stuff. It's gonna be incredible.
Be great.
Give it to me, Shea.
I'd love it. I want to see some.
People just forget about Chet Holmgren, who, by the way, is really good. I stand by that. He's going to be good. So, all right, brother. Well, thank you for doing this. We'll talk again soon. Probably not about the draft, but we'll talk because it's not really your specialty. But we'll come back and talk free agency or whatever is going on. Anything to plug? Podcast?
We'll be back.
PGA Championship podcast?
PGA Championship preview, and me and the fellas will be talking about our own golf games because Tom's now taking lessons.
I saw this about Tom Fernelli of CBS Sports.
So we'll be getting deep in golf process stuff as well, talking through swing thoughts.
I can't wait to listen to that. So subscribe to the podcast. Go ahead and do that. Also read us mostly Robbie, but occasionally me at UPROXX.
Brad Rowland on Mondays. Monsieur Monday over here.
That's me.
And read us over on Dime and UPROXX. We'll be doing lots of.
I'll have a mock Tuesday night after the lottery, and we'll go from there.
Draft things and free agency things, and it's about to be pre-write season. Brad, are you ready?
Oh, Lord, I'm retiring. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend about the show. Follow Robby and all that fun stuff. We'll see you all next time.